Welcome to Senior Spectrum. This series focuses on programs and events that appeal to those in our community who have reached their golden years. In this segment, we're going to follow some very active seniors who provide an invaluable service to our city. Let's hear from Captain Leif Nicolaisen from the Glendale Police Department and Alma Bullock, Volunteer Coordinator, as they introduce us to the RSVP program.
RSVP stands for Retired Senior Volunteer Patrol Program. A fantastic addition to our police department. I think we started this back in 1995.
I have been with this program for about 3 years, with the city for about 19 years, working 3 other details. Our volunteer patrol is a program that was designed to draw upon the experience of mature and responsible adults. You do have to be 55 and older to be in the program. However, I have somebody who's in their late 70s, early 80s.
We started the RSVP program because the police department, trying to serve all of the needs of the community was growing by leaps and bounds, and we were kind of not keeping pace in terms of our staffing and our ability to provide the same service we used to provide. So we started the RSVP program really as a force multiplier to help us continue to provide services to the public that we were no longer able to provide. My role in the RSVP program is that now I'm a captain in charge of a division in which the RSVP program resides. However, I was a sergeant at the time that we started this program, so I was kind of instrumental in the foundation, so I have a lot of history with the RSVP program.
It is definitely something that you don't realize until you're in it, how giving they are to their own community and trying to better the police department and the community itself.
San Diego was a leader in community policing. We went down there and we saw how the RSVP program really worked wonders in that city, and we kind of brought the same program up here to Glendale. It works so well in San Diego using seniors. They're very reliable, they have real dedication to the community, they have a lot of life experience that we duplicated that up here, and it has not been a mistake.
We currently have approximately 38 volunteers in the whole police department, 17 of them being RSVPs.
We know what RSVP stands for and what the program itself accomplishes. Now some of the volunteers can tell you why they participate and how they personally benefit from being a member.
My name is Ray Kiesler and I'm 76 years old.
My name's Marion Mandison, and in a couple months I'll be 78.
My name is Leroy Smith. My age will be 70 in June.
My name is Lucy Haley, and I'm 56 years old.
My name is Peter Haley, and I'm 67 years old.
I've been with Glendale RSVP program over 5 years now.
I started training for the RSVP program late 2001, and we graduated March 2002.
With the RSVP, I've been with them for 2 years, but I've been working in the, also volunteering with the gang unit for about 10 years.
I've worked with the Glendale Police Department now for about 15 years, primarily as a volunteer, and RSVP gave me a chance to do something with my wife and partner.
RSVP personnel will usually perform vacation checks, business checks, parking enforcement, traffic control, graffiti abatement, and foot patrols.
Well, I retired a number of years ago, and I saw an ad in the paper explaining that the Glendale Police Department needed people on a volunteer basis so that other officers, sworn officers, could be released for more important duties that police officers do.
One day I was looking through the volunteer list in the newspaper, but I saw the ad for the statement for the police department, and I thought that would be interesting and I'd like to try it.
I decided to go with the RSVP to basically work with my husband. We decided to join the RSVP and try to help people.
I was watching, the TV was on, Channel 6, and I saw these 2 gentlemen in uniform doing a vacation check. I says, I can do that.
In this program, all duties are favorites. Part of our job, of course, is to go on patrol. And we're not sworn officers, we're volunteer officers. We check for disability parking infractions, like people are parked in a disability spot and they have no placard. That's not a good thing. We check for license plates that are missing off the front of a vehicle. We do foot patrol in Montrose, California. We do foot patrol on Brand Boulevard. Just looking around and letting people know that we're there.
I think that one of the things I enjoy is being helpful to people. In other words, if I'm giving a citation for a red zone violation or a blue zone violation, I feel good that I'm doing something that should be done. But if there's no front plate, and that's something we also give a citation for, I'll look around, and if somebody's approaching and I can tell them that this is a violation and I don't write the ticket, I feel good about that because I feel like I'm performing a service for the citizens.
We are not authorized to stop any vehicle that's moving. The fine for a citation in a disability parking area without a placard or without any proof of disability is $335.
If we see a car that's parked illegally or doesn't have anything, and if there's nothing on the license plate or hanging, we will get out of the car and we will look inside the car to make sure if we see the placard sticking out of their console, laying on the floor, tucked behind their sun visor, and if they do have it, then we don't write the violation. We have a note that we put on the windshield, and it says warning police department and tells them to hang it. But if there is no placard, then we write a citation.
We write citations for red zones, for fire hydrants, and a few other things like that.
We've written about more than 500 cites this year.
As an RSVP, favorite duties are going out on patrol, of course, and we do look for things that are out of the ordinary.
As an RSVP, I love to patrol, and I enjoy handling anything that comes up as a result of the patrol.
Our specific action is usually to follow an itinerary to do our vacation checks.
If a resident is going on vacation and they'd like the police department to do a vacation check, which is free to the public, it's a good service. They call 548-4015, and there's a lengthy form to be filled out. This form tells us everything we need to know before we approach the house.
We get the report on a request sheet. We drive to the area.
Probably the first thing we do when we arrive in the area of the house is to put ourselves out with dispatch. In other words, contact dispatch that we are at this particular location. At that point, we drive by the house to see if there's anything there which should not be there. When we're feeling safe that everything's okay in that regard, we park the car a little ways away from the house. We try not to be too obvious about where we're going. And then we start with our regular house check.
We approach the house in a manner as to protect each other.
We also pick up papers and flyers that are thrown. We pick them up and we hide them, throw them away, so that people can't tell if somebody's away or not.
We go to the house and rattle on doors and see if there's anybody in there.
We check the front door first.
When we first walk up to check a house, I generally will look at the whole front of the house, including the upstairs windows and the entranceways to the side of the house, if there are any, to see how we should check it, if this is the first time that we have checked this particular house.
If we go to a vacation check and say the front door is open, we immediately back off. We go back to our unit. We call dispatch and tell them that we have an open door. And for our own safety, we don't go near the house. They send sworn officer units, and they get there quickly. Protect ourselves, don't get involved. If there's somebody in the house, get out of there.
Sometimes we go in the backyard and sometimes we don't. It depends on the homeowner to if they lock the door or if they lock their gate, we don't go in.
Performing vacation checks are an important part of an RSVP's role, but members also help to keep our community free of discarded items and graffiti.
Every time we go out on patrol, we're looking for graffiti. And when we find it, in my case, I have two things I can do with it. First of all is to note it down, the location, try to read what it is saying, and then report it back to the cop's office, where it is then faxed to someone in the city who is in charge of covering up the graffiti.
When we see something that's lying on the side of the street, on the pavement, sometimes it's in the street. Primarily, our purpose is to report the address, and we're noting graffiti and abandoned items and things that we want to report to the city to help keep Glendale clean.
Next time you decide to exceed the speed limit on a certain street, keep in mind that an RSVP member may be watching.
We perform the radar checks sometimes 2 or 3 times a year. A lot of times citizens will call in and say, well, on Hadams Hill, for instance, they're going too fast down the hill, they're going too fast up the hill. So once the police department gets enough complaints about it, then they'll send us out there and do a survey for the police department. We choose a spot, like San Fernando Road, for instance. We aim it at as cars coming down the road, and we record the speed limits. And when we record all these different speed limits down, we turn it into the traffic department, and they'll take action on how to reduce the speed on that particular street.
Myself and the group of people that I work with have gone through CERT training, which is disaster training, so we are qualified to respond if we are called.
We did have traffic control training in our RSVP program, and it was at length.
The RSVPs also regularly help with DUI checkpoints, helping to keep our streets safer.
I've been involved in probably 4 DUI checkpoints in the last year. My principal responsibility has been to guide the vehicles which have been designated to be pulled over into our parking area where further investigation takes place.
I specifically help with the DUI check with counting the cars, how many cars have gone by and how many cars we've stopped.
How much in time and money have the RSVPs saved our community?
They contributed 8,300 hours. Now, if you calculate this at a national average wage of $20.36, that's $168,988, all payable to the City of Glendale.
The most valuable part of the RSVP program is enabling the police department to continue to provide services to the public that we otherwise couldn't. Years ago, the police department used to provide things like vacation checks, and the police department would actually come by and make it part of the routine patrol to check on your house to make sure everything was all right. Over the years, the calls for service began to increase, and we really couldn't provide that service anymore. The RSVPs can still provide that service for the community. We give the RSVPs a lot of training on how to respond to various situations.
Our Chief of Police, Randy Adams, always attends our yearly volunteer appreciation luncheon, and he lets each and every one of them know how very special and valued they are.
Well, I chose to volunteer for the Glendale Police Department because after I retired, I wanted to be active and provide a service for my community. There are a multitude of opportunities to be a service to the department and the community that I live in.
In order to become an RSVP, you must be 55 age or older, come to the police department and fill out an initial application. Once we review your application, you will then fill out a background that's quite extensive. In this background, it lets us know whether you are qualified to be in the police department or not. A personal interview is then done, a criminal check, a credit check, life scan fingerprinting. Personal references are always checked. Employer checks sometimes are necessary just to know if this person is somebody that we could count on. And we do ask for a minimum of 6-month commitment. Some of the new projects that we're looking forward to is the new Americana being built. With the new Americana coming to Glendale, it will open up some other avenues for our volunteers, whether it's manning the substation there or footbeats. We could always use footbeats or just patrolling the parking lot. It's a great avenue for our volunteers. If you're interested in joining our program and becoming a volunteer, please call me, Alma Bullock, at the Glendale Police Department, 818-548-4015.
We're closing this segment of Senior Spectrum in memory of Penny Hansen. Of course, we're concerned about safety outside of our homes, but what about inside? Let's join firefighter Pat Dawson as he performs a home safety check for Mr. Jerry Jacobs.
Hello?
Hi Jerry, I'm firefighter Pat Dawson with the Glendale Fire Department.
Yes.
And I'm here to talk about home safety.
Would you like to come in?
I would love to.
Come on in and tell me about it, please.
Hi Hi, Jerry. Some of the things that I would like to cover in the kitchen for seniors is pot handles. First, if you lose your balance or you're to trip, the first thing you're going to grab is the closest thing to you. So we don't want this out because then you could get grease on you or any hot scalding liquid that could burn yourself. So we'd like to keep the pot handles in. One of the things with the pot handles in and extra stuff on the counter is phone cords and phones. If you go to answer the phone, it could also pull the pot handle towards you and burn you as well. So what we'd like for you to do is keep all the phones and any cords and any extra stuff off the sink away from the stove, including any combustible materials that might burn to an open flame or the burner itself. So we'll keep those in. One of the other things I'd like to address is to keep a good set of oven mitts around for when you're picking up a hot pot of boiling water or a pan. Some people, what they'll do is they'll use just a regular towel like this and transfer the pot over, and about halfway the heat goes through the cloth and it burns your hands. Well, in turn you will drop the pot, which will splash on you and you could get up to 3rd-degree burns. So with 2 good oven mitts, I would like you to be able to pick up the pot and transfer it over the counter. In case it gets too hot or too heavy, you can set it down right quick without burning yourself or dropping the pot, which a coffee maker right now would be in the way. So we'd like to keep everything off the counter and clear so the transfer from the stove to the sink can be complete without burning yourself or the risk of dropping the pot. Once we're done with our cooking, I want to make sure that we physically touch the off switch to all of our burners, or turn off all of the flame dials if you have an open flame, to make sure that everything is off, to create anything from getting set on there by accident or catching on fire or burning yourself. One of the most important things for seniors, Jerry, especially living alone, is to have a list of your medications around handy in case of emergency. Do you have a list available?
Yeah, I do, and I think it's over here. Just a second, Pat. No, I keep it somewhere around here. Okay. Oh, here it is.
Okay.
This is the list that I have.
One of the things that we would recommend is to keep this on your refrigerator held up by a piece of tape or a magnet. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put it up here. In case of emergency, if you're either altered or rendered unconscious, when the fire department comes, they could see what kind of medications you're taking so that we could take care of you and treat you at the hospital and references to a doctor. Jerry, due to the lack of storage space in some seniors' homes and they don't want to clutter up their kitchens, they store a lot of stuff inside the stove. Just like, well, you do right here.
Where am I going to put it?
Well, you could put it up on top right here, or you could put it in different cabinets. You may be in a rush one day and you come here to turn on your stove and you forget that you do have stuff in there, which will create a fire. And we've gone on a number of responses at seniors' homes because of that. So what I like to do is go ahead and take these. We'll go ahead and just store them right up here. There we go. Now, in case in the event you're in a hurry or something, you could go ahead and fire up your stove and you have nothing to worry about. Okay, Jerry, we're here to look at your bathroom. You have carpet on your floor. If you do have tile in your homes, we recommend that you put a bath mat on the floor for exiting the shower so you don't slip and fall. You have grab bars in your shower, which is great for stability, and you also have a chair in there so you can sit down, use the shower, and then you use the grab bars to pull yourself back up. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at your office? Okay, Jerry, coming into the office, I noticed that you have an octopus of cords plugged into one outlet, which causes a major strain on this one outlet, which could overheat, spark, and cause a fire. Okay, what I would recommend is getting one of these power strips that's tested by the Underwriters Laboratory. You look for the UL seal right there. That means it's tested and approved. It has an on and off switch with a fuse, and it's very simple to use. All you do is take this off like that, open it up, unplug your cords, take each individual cord, plug it into the power strip, which prevents surges into your computers or other electronics, which can save the life of those products. You plug it in, and you go ahead and plug it into the wall, and then you could go ahead and click it on. And the light will come on red like so, and that'll let you know that it's working.
That keeps it from, like, if the city power goes off from your TV or something, blowing out.
Right, what it will do is any power surges, it will stop here and trip the fuse instead of going into your computer or your TV or any one of your electronics and frying out the insides.
We've seen what happened to the residents of New Orleans when Katrina hit. Eric Grossman from the Glendale Red Cross is going to show one way in which we can all be better prepared for a disaster.
Today I'm with Jerry Jacobs, and we're going to be talking about survival kits. One similar to what I'm holding here in my hand. The kit that I'm going to show you today, Jerry, is a 3-day survival kit for 2 people. And what I've done is that there are several items in this kit, but I pulled out a couple items that are the most important to have in your kit. This is a wind-up radio that we have in one of our survival kits. It's not operated by battery, it's operated by winding it up. It gives you the ability to hear news that's happening. It'll keep you in touch. And that's really important at a time when there's no electricity and you're unable to have communications to know what's going on. Not knowing is very stressful in a situation when there is an emergency such as a natural disaster or a terrorist attack. In this 3-day kit is drinking water. There's 2 packets per day for 3 days per person. So we recommend that the first 24 hours that you don't use these unless you're dehydrated or it is a medical emergency. And the reason being is that you may have medical assistance arrive on scene, or you may not have to use the water immediately. If you start utilizing your water too quickly, you'll run out when you shouldn't have to. Another part in this kit, which is very important, are first aid kits. These are equipped for 2 people. And the first aid kit, will have bandages and gauze pads and things of that nature in case that there is an injury. This is what we call a comfort kit, which you have here in your hand. In the comfort kit is toothbrush, napkins, tissue paper, some of the hygiene essentials that you may need in the event of an emergency. Can openers are something that we kind of forget about in the time of an emergency. If you have to open up cans of soup or bottles where it's not a twist off and you don't have the use of a can opener. We also recommend that you don't use a can opener that requires electricity. Again, if the electricity goes out, you won't be able to utilize this. This one is just basically hand operated. It's just something basic that you get in any of your stores. Depending on the type of year or the weather conditions we have, in these kits also are equipped with ponchos for the rain in case in the event that your home is damaged and you have to stay outside, as well as an emergency blanket. Now these are reflective emergency blankets. Can be used for 2 purposes. One, to keep you warm at night, and the other, as you can see, it looks like tin foil, and it will reflect in the sky. So if there's a helicopter flying over, or they're utilizing flashlights at night, or even during the day the sun hits this, it'll tell the emergency responders that possibly someone is over there or maybe trapped in a house or a building. With that at night, again, some of the other things you might want to keep that are in this survival kit is a flashlight. You want to make sure you check your flashlight about every 30 days just to make sure that the lights are working properly and that the bulbs aren't burned out. These are very important to have in a kit, especially if there is no lights available and the night comes, you'll have something to look around with. Also in the kits are our safety lights. These basically, when you open them up, you snap them in and they turn green, and they glow at night, and they're very bright, and they'll last up to about 3 to 4 hours. Okay. Also, along with the lights and the flashlights is a whistle. And people may ask, well, why would you need a whistle? And the reason for a whistle is if you are trapped inside your home or you're in an area where they can't find you, by blowing the whistle will give a signal to the emergency responders that there's somebody in this location. And we put it in a backpack for the purposes of, in case you have to leave or move, you can put this on your back. You don't have to carry it in your hands. It keeps your hands free. In case you slip and fall, your hands will be free to be able to break your fall. Along with the kit also is equipped with a pair of gloves, which is very important in case you have to move glass or other debris that will affect your hands or may cause you to cut your hands. You'll have gloves to wear. We would recommend that when you have these survival kits, that you store it in a place where it's accessible and safe from other elements outside. We recommend if it's somewhere in a hallway next to a pantry or next to a closet by the restrooms. You could store it in the vehicles, but we recommend that you don't typically do that, because if you are out at the supermarket and it happens and you're unable to get back home, the people at home wouldn't be able to have access to the emergency kit, but you would. So these are some of the items which come inside the emergency kits. Again, Jerry, you can always go to our website, which is www.arcglendale.org, and we have several different emergency kits that you can go through, and just depending on which one you'll need, I'll leave this brochure with you, but you can see it has different types of emergency kits that may be helpful for you.
Mm-hmm. I have a couple of questions, Eric. On this, now, is this water, or do you put that in the water?
No, this is actual drinking water. The shelf life on this water is up to 5 years. You'll have 24 packs of water in this case. for 3 days for 2 people. As well as you also have rations. They're not the best tasting, but it's 1 bar every 6 hours per person.
And then do you have some extra batteries too?
No, some of the things you should keep in your survival kit is extra batteries, and you should have prescription medication for a week. In the event that you can't go to a pharmacy, prescription medication has a long shelf life. Usually on the medication there is an expiration date. So just be aware of what your expiration dates on your certain types of medication.
So Eric, where can I purchase one of these kits?
Well, Jerry, you can purchase one of these kits at the American Red Cross in Glendale. We're located at 1501 South Brown Boulevard. Or you can go to our website, which is www.arcglendale.org. And again, we have a wide variety of different survival kits. And as well as you can talk to some of the people that work there that will be able to help you direct you to what proper kit you should have.
In spite of our best efforts, we do have accidents and may, at some time in our lives, need an ambulance. The Glendale Fire Department has a special service that is important for all residents, regardless of age.
Jerry, before I leave today, I'd like to introduce a program to you that's very important in the city of Glendale called the Glendale Medic. It'll help offset any cost of care when you dial 911. It's a membership program that can be billed directly through your Glendale and Water Power bill.
Okay, well I'll take this and I'll look it over and I'll probably decide on doing that.
All right, Jerry. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And I really got a lot of information that was important to me out of that. And I think my home will be safer now because of you coming here.
Good, thank you very much
You're
for having
welcome,
us.
Pat.
If you've learned a little about keeping your home safer, but would like to learn more and possibly become involved in helping your community, Tanya Gregorian is going to tell you how to do this.
CERT stands for Community Emergency Response Teams. It's basically a nationally recognized program that allows for people within the community to get trained in emergency preparedness and emergency response. That means that we train them from the fire department for them to be able to help us post-disaster when we need the help. And it also allows people to get motivated, and it empowers them to be prepared for disasters so that they're not as dependent on public safety response to help them, that they can help themselves. In the CERT program, they learn a variety of different techniques on emergency preparedness response. Initially, they learn about disaster preparedness, everything you need to know about being prepared for disasters, how much water you should store, where you should store your water and your food, what kind of supplies you should have. And then the rest of the modules lead into a little bit more specific things about emergency response, such as light search and rescue, disaster psychology, triage, disaster medical operations that includes basic first aid techniques, as well as learning about terrorism and the incident command system. And all of this comes together when they do all of the hands-on exercises and simulation exercises that we do as well. We have all the props for that as well at the fire department. And when the students come into the Community Emergency Response Team class, they all get hands-on, first-hand training from fire department staff and personnel. It's an exceptionally good program for seniors to get involved because it's the senior population, semi-retired or fully retired, that have some of the time to take these classes. And it also allows them to be less dependent on government personnel, on public safety personnel, when there is a disaster, so that they can take care of themselves as well as their neighbors or the people that they live with or live within the same dwelling or multifamily dwelling or senior housing facility, whatever it may be. It's information that they find extremely valuable. They love the class when we have senior citizens in the class. And it's a great team effort for us to be able to team up with some of our senior population so that we can call upon them for other community events as well. My role in the CERT program is I'm the program manager and coordinator of the program. I put the classes together and make sure that we have instructors and material for all the classes, as well as teach some of the units and some of the modules of the class. The class altogether is 20 hours of training. If you're interested in signing up for a CERT class, please call our office at 818-548-6402 and ask to register for the class, whatever month you decide to take.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Senior Spectrum. In our next episode, we're going to follow some seniors through the CERT program and learn about some recreational activities. If you have suggestions for future segments, contact me, Vicki Gardner, at 548-4844. Thanks for your time.